Collecting Manchester United memorabilia is a real labour of love for supporters like Joe Glanville. Here in Malta, Joe's private collection has been enjoyed by some of this football club's most famous names. Today we get to hear some of the stories behind a lifetime of dedication. Welcome to the home of Joe Glanville for this special episode in our exclusive 4-part series. Joe, of course, is the former president of the world's oldest Manchester United supporters club. Not just a legendary fan, he's the collector of some outstanding pieces of memorabilia, some with some great stories behind them. Joe, give us an overview. We've had a quick look round your man cave. Give us an overview of what you've got in your collection.
My collection consists today on various items which concern Man United, especially programs, newspapers, pennants, special issues, and also jerseys of Man United. Really, it's the general items that you get in a collection, you know.
Some of the things that stand out to me are some of your personal photographs, and we'll come back to those specifically a little bit later on. But how did it all get started?
It started when I was in Manchester in 1967, and the place where I was staying, the woman, she used to go and get her groceries every day. And I used to accompany her, and on the last week I was there, the bloke who owned the grocery shop, he took me home to show me something special, he said. And he opened this big drawer, and there were a lot of United programs from the 40s, 50s, and the 60s. And he told me, listen, I want to get rid of these. Are you interested in them? And I said, of course I'm interested. But the problem I had was how to get them to Malta. But at the end I had to give him a straight answer. I said, let's see how I can get them to Malta. And I said yes. And that's how my collection began, you know. So that was the start. But these days, as I said, when you are a collector, you try to get whatever comes available, you know.
You've obviously built on the collection that you started with the match programmes. Have you got any special favourite programmes that really stand out in your mind?
Yes, I got as regards programs, I got a particular 2 programs. One is the Dukla Way. That was one of the games as regards the European Cup. And then I've got the famous program of the game that was postponed exactly after Munich against Wolves. And these 2 programs, they are so favorite of mine because the way I got them was something that you don't expect to find these 2 programs, which are very rare. And what went on is a friend of mine, who at that time I did not know, came to Malta to get a book on United as regards statistics, dates and everything, you know. And I came to know him, and he told me during our conversation, he told me that he had a couple of programs at his home in Nottingham. He did not know where they were. He told me, but if I find them, I can offer them to you. And these were these 2 particular programs, you know. He told me, for them I only want 300 quid. And I said, oh my God, these 2 programs are definitely worth 300 quid. And that was it. And time passed, and I came to know that this poor bloke died. He had something in his blood or something. And I said, that's it, you know, there were 2 programs, I won't get them, you know. So time passed, and one time I received a telephone call from a woman, and she told me, Joe, I am Keith Miller's wife. I would like to see you, you know. Went to see her, and she got out an envelope, and when I opened it, there were these 2 programs. And she told me, all I want for them is what Keith had promised you, 300 quid. So most probably before he died, he told her, listen, these are Joe, all he owes me 300 quid. So that for me was a big scoop. That was me for a big scoop, and they are so favorite of mine for the simple reason that the way I got them and the importance of the 2 programs in the history of Man United.
Do you feel a big responsibility when you get to own these programmes because they're kind of being passed on to you, they're in your safekeeping, they're almost like the custodian of a part of the United history?
Yes, in fact, when I look at them, when I get the chance, it brings back a lot of memories. It seems to be like the road you took supporting Man United from the very, very start, So there are very special programs for me. And I have to add that after I got the first lot, I used to go to a place in Moss Side in Manchester, and there was this shop, near Main Road, and I used to buy quite a few programs from him, He was a nice bloke. At that time it was easy to get programs, because there wasn't that sort of people collecting them, It's a pity that at first I did not collect the away programs, because the ones that I've got missing now, most of them are away programs, because at that time you easily can get the away programs, but not now.
What I find fascinating, having a quick look at your programs, is how programs have changed down the years, because you've got some of the really old ones that are really pretty much only one page.
Yes, when you have a collection, you see the way that the programs developed, because at that time, for instance, you get programs which is just 3 sheets into three pages. I mean, big programs, different sizes, And United, yes, in the 40s and 50s, especially in the 40s, after the World War, there was lack of paper. So United used to do 1 sheet. And most of these programs, if you find them, they are closed, they are folded in 4. And they were folded in 4 for the simple reason that the people who supported United and went to the ground, they used to go in their boiler suit and they used to fold them to put them in their pocket, So any program of 1945, 46, you'll find them in this state, and you have to repair them if you get the chance. I used to repair them by sending them to a company who used to look after the documents of the British Museum in London. They cost me a bit of money, but I'm so happy that I did them, because these days you don't find them.
Looking at your collection and the fact that you've restored some of these programs that were not in such good condition, now they're almost in pristine condition. You must have a lot of programs, memorabilia, that don't exist anywhere else.
I don't say they don't exist anywhere, because there are other collectors, and there was 2 friends of mine from Manchester who had the biggest collection. One of them is Les Millman, who's still alive, and the other one was Ray Edler, who unfortunately passed away a year ago. For me, they were or are the biggest collections of Man United, because the stuff they've got is amazing.
Have you ever thought about what's going to happen to your amazing collection when you're not here anymore?
That's a big problem to solve, for the simple reason that I would like my collection to go to my daughter's son. He's a United supporter. His father is also a United supporter. But I've got my doubts if they will keep the collection. So, to be honest, I spoke to 3 people at the club, and I told them if it had to come that these people won't be interested, I don't want to sell the collection. Definitely, I won't sell it. So I told these 3 people at the club, the collection will be yours. You have to divide it between yourselves, because I know that these 3 people, they are not going to make money out of it, because they are Daft United supporters like me, and they will treasure them,
You've got the match programs, but you've also got a lot of cuttings. Did that? Am I right in saying that resulted in you being part of a book being published?
Yes, in a way, yes. The first cuttings I began to get were in the 60s. And between the 60s and late 69, I kept all the cuttings. And I was lucky, because at that period of time, the United won 2 championships, besides the cup in 63, and they even reached the final at Wembley 68 when they won the European Cup the first time. So I managed to collect some important cuttings, which I lent them to people who wanted to write books about United. But I've got a very special one. I've got a very special one where all the newspapers for the European Cup final in '68, they are gathered in a very, very big album, which I always treasured. And this album is so big, it's the size of the Financial Times. For the simple reason I did it, so that there won't be any papers that are folded. And that way I kept them in good nick, you know. And whenever people came to visit me and see my collections, they always were interested in this big album, you know. And they always thought in my mind, these people, they want to make money out of it, you know. And they always refused, although I was requested to sell them this big album, you know. And I said, I want to do something for charity with this book, you know. And we contacted a local entity which looks after children with cancer, and we came up with the idea to do this big book called Malta to Wembley. And in fact, a friend of mine scanned over 2,000 newspapers to assemble all the cuttings, you know. And he was a great help, and I owe a lot of the success of this book to this person. And we launched the book in Malta. And to launch it, we had Johnny Aston, Alex Stepney, who were part of the lineup in the final against Benfica. And we had David Meek also. And we managed to make a big sum of money. I mean, before taking the expense involved in it, I collected nearly 100,000. There were a few expenses to fork out, so most probably by the end, we are at the moment at about 30 grand, which was a great sum of money, you know. And also, with the inclusion of guests who came to Malta for the launch, there was also Alan Walden, who is involved with the Association of Former United Players. And it was so nice, and they were so impressed with this venture, that they gave a good sum of money also for the same entity.
Joe's memorabilia is very much a personal collection, and many items bring back special memories. So we moved to another part of the den. Joe, tell us what you got over here.
So, after I came back to Malta from the 1963 Cup final, I wrote to Matt Busby to congratulate him. And luckily, afterwards, he answered me and sent me this card signed by him, which is something that I have kept since that time.
Can you read a little bit of it? Tell us what it says.
Unfortunately, I can't because I haven't got my specs.
Okay.
But it says something on behalf of the chairman, directors, Matt Busby and all the staff at Old Trafford. Would like to thank you for your kind comments you put as regards our victory at Wembley, 1963. Then, a picture. This was in Porto, the first time that we played them in the Champions League. This was having a good drink with Gary's father, Neville, and Beckham's parents in Porto, Sandra and Ted.
Happy memories.
That's great memories. Because at that time, even now, unfortunately I'm saying at that time because Neville is no longer with us these days. But it gets you back great memories, you know. Then, the last two, I've got this one. This is in David's kitchen in Madrid when I went to see him.
Sometimes when you used to meet David, did you get surprised with your new hairstyle?
No, not really. I mean, because you know the person and he's always looking to get something new, a new image. But what I remember of this photo, that he went to get burgers and chips so that we'll have dinner. At that time he was on his own. His missus was away in New York. And he was kind enough to go and buy us burgers and Coke. And the last one it again concerns backs. This is a very nice photo. That's in Milan, when I went to watch him play for AC Milan. And we went together for Maldini's last game of the season's party. The last game he played for AC Milan, Maldini had a party at the tennis club in San Siro, and I went with Bex for the party. That was at the tennis club near San Siro.
Fantastic. Do you hang out with some interesting people, Joe?
No, at the end of the day, everybody is the same. Everybody with his own personal problems. I mean, so life is life for everybody.
What's fascinating to me is that you've got all these amazing collectors around the world. Some of them, unfortunately, are not with us anymore, but you mentioned one guy earlier that I know quite well, Leslie Millman. I'm wondering, how much do you collaborate with other collectors? Is it like a sort of secret detective society where you're trying to work out how to track things down, or do you share information, or do you keep the information to yourself?
No, I don't keep the information to myself, although sometimes it helps you. For instance, myself, way back, I used to have my programs gathered in binders that were produced by the souvenir shop in Manchester, and they were loose. And friends used to come here to my place, and they used to ask me to go and see my collection, and I used to tell them, go up and have a look. And afterwards I found some programs missing. And I was lucky that the missing programs were from teams who used to produce quite a few programs. Because the problem is not if somebody takes a program of you can go and get it again. The problem is whether you can find it or not, because sometimes some programs you can offer any money you like and you won't find them. So through that, I managed to reorganize my whole collection, put them individually in sleeves, and today I've got about 250 files, box files, which contain all my programs, which is not bad.
What I love about your collection is there's so many items that have got personal stories that go with them. I know, for example, you've got quite a lot of rare and valuable menus, and I think there's one in particular from Matt Busby's birthday that's got something unique about it. Tell us about that story.
I mean, with my connections with the Association of Former United Players, I was invited for their do on Matt Busby's 80th birthday. And to my surprise, when I saw the menu, they included all the players at the back who used to play under Matt Busby. And all of a sudden I found my name that was included. And in fact, that was a very, very special surprise for me,
Absolutely priceless. And it's even more special to have it in your collection.
Yes, in fact, I've got two copies. One of them is signed by all the players who played in the cup final in '48, and another copy which is signed by the players who played in the final in '68. Besides, on these programs there is the autograph of Joe Mercer, Tom Finney, who were there for the special occasion of Matt's birthday. That was great. Quite a great occasion.
This really is an impressive place, Joe, and it's great looking at the memorabilia you've got upstairs, but you've also here in your man cave, it's kind of outstanding, some of the pictures you got on the wall. Tell us some of the insight about the fact that you've got these things which are quite rare that other people won't have.
In this room I've got a few good photos of lineups of Man United when they won the trophies, And people might not know, but at Old Trafford, when they win a trophy, they do a special photo, a lineup of all the players who were involved in that season, and they include the directors. And normally you don't find directors including in photos which are commercial. And they give a frame photo of the lineup with the directors, and they give them to the players. And with my contacts over there, I'm not going to mention who, because I mean, it's not proper. But I used to get every time a frame with these lineup. And I've got about 20, you know, which especially during Fergie's time, I got them nearly all, you know, which is also a nice gesture from my friend at Old Trafford, who was very, let me put it that way, one of the secretaries. I mean, who was a close friend of mine.
So the short list there that we can work it out from, but I suppose a lot of fans wouldn't want pictures of teams with directors, but I guess in that quite a lot of the people that are behind the scenes, you got to know them over the years.
Yes. In fact, most of them, I used to know them, especially not these days, because these days you don't even know whom you're meeting at Old Trafford. But up to the Fergie's time, I mean, I used to know most of them, you know, and they always treated me right, some of them more than right. So it gives me quite a good, it makes me going back to the times that I really enjoy myself going to Old Trafford.
Looking around, I like the little personal photographs you've got on the drawings. You've got one there of Ryan Giggs, to my friend Joe, all the best. Ryan Giggs. I mean, is there a story behind that one?
What I like of them two frames is they are personally autographed to me with my name on. One of them is of my good friend Ryan Giggs, whom I came to know when he was still named as Ryan Wilson, and the other one of Cantona. In fact, he even put Joe as J-O instead of what I call the French way, J-O instead of J-O-E.
So it's unique. He always likes to be a little bit different, doesn't he, or Eric?
Eric was a great lad, a very much educated bloke. And the only problem with Eric, if he sees somebody or something which he doesn't believe in or approve of, he will look after himself.
He's not a guy that sits on the fence, is he? He likes to have an opinion.
No. But meeting him, I found him a very educated person.
It's amazing, really, what Sir Alex Ferguson did with Eric Cantona, isn't it, really? Because if it hadn't been for Sir Alex, he probably would have left after he got thrown out, because he pretty much the whole media in the world wanted to lock him up and throw away the key, didn't they? But Fergie really stood by him, didn't he?
Yes, but I think joining Manchester United, it worked both ways. Definitely it worked in the favour of Alex, because as soon as Cantona arrived, there was a fantastic change in the way they play. And also with him being here and there with different clubs because of his character, in Manchester United he settled and he was so happy. Most probably it was also Fergie's way of tackling him. And in fact, up to this very day, he adores Alex Ferguson, you know, he never hear him saying one word which is against Fergie, you know.
I think another guy that's probably in the same camp as that is David Beckham, because whatever might have been said when he left, or whatever, I don't know the inside story, but David always talks about Sir Alex Ferguson like he was a second father, doesn't he?
Yes, because, I mean, with Alex Ferguson, unless you know him, you always think the way that he looks on the field, very aggressive and whatnot. But off the field, he's the most fantastic person you could ever meet. And the charity he does, which nobody mentions and nobody knows, it's something that really shows his character. He helps a lot of people. He's very reciprocative in the way he treats people. But on the field, he's a different type of person, you know. And most probably that's what made him get all the honors that he managed with, because he's very strict, very man of himself, that whatever he thinks should be done, you know. I mean, a person who remains in the big history of Man United.
I know you obviously have a lot of high thoughts for Sir Alex Ferguson, like everybody does, but the thing is, you're close to him, and you must have some special memorabilia, Sir Alex Ferguson, that means something extra special to you because of your relationship with him.
Yes, I've got a lot of things and a lot of memories with him, you know, both on the personal way of life and that's, also officially, you know, with the team. But I mean, as regards souvenirs of Alex Ferguson and other people, I've got a few which are very special to me because I forgot to mention them to you. First of all, I've got my rosette for the European Cup final in '68. And it was, I mean, it was produced by a tailor in Salford. It was about 10 of us who went to Manchester for the final. And this person by the name of Alex Ferguson, he was so impressed that we had travelled to Malta for the final that he made us 3 big rosettes. And after the final, you know, there was a big reception, dinner at the Russell Hotel in London. And I went with this big rosette, and I treasure this rosette so much for one simple reason, because with all the players who signed it for me, I've got a special signature. And you tell me, who is it? It happened to be Busby's mother, Mrs. Helen Busby. And I think today, to find a signature of Busby's mother, I think it's impossible.
Absolutely.
And I treasure that so much, you know. And then I've got also, among the number of shares that I've got 3 special ones. One of them was given to me by West Brown. You know, in the final, they normally get 2 shirts. The one they play with, and they have an extra one. And after the final against Chelsea in Moscow, West Brown gave me his extra shirt, you know, signed by him and by other players. That's one. Then I've got another special one, signed by Becks, with a very personal message at the back for looking after him in Malta when he was at Real Madrid, because I used to visit him at Madrid for a number of times, you know. And then at the end I've got the 1999 Champions League final jersey. And it is signed by every single player who was registered with UEFA. And there was also some officials like Alex Ferguson. I must have at least 30, 40 signatures on this jersey. And the thing is this, that although the players are still alive of that time, all of them are scattered today. And to find them, to get an autograph for them, sometimes it's not that easy. And I managed to get every single person registered with UEFA, and that particular on this jersey.
Absolutely fantastic. I do feel very privileged to have the opportunity to come and see your memorabilia firsthand. I'm just wondering, you've got so many special stories and so many special connections with people. How many people actually get the chance to come here? I mean, do you give many invites out to people to come and have a look? Anybody special we should know about that's come to see your collection?
I mean...
Has Fergie been here?
Yes. Fergie spent nearly half a day looking at my collection, because the old ones are people that he used to play with. And one morning he spent a few hours here looking at all the programs and commenting on this, him. I used to know him, I used to play against him, or I used to play with him, you know. And even for everybody, it brings back memories, whether it's Ferguson or a normal supporter, you know, because it's your way of life. I mean, and if your favorite team is there in part of the collection, because especially if you have away programs, you're bound to find people who come who support other team, like Arsenal and Tottenham, you know, quite a few.
That's fantastic. But when you have somebody like Alex Ferguson come to see the collection, that must really bring it to life for you.
In a way, yes. But in a way, you say to yourself, listen, at the end of the day, the big people like Fergie are like us. They get interested in what they like, football. I mean, it's the same thing when these days I collect also anything that goes at Old Trafford, any particular occasion. And you know, these days there's the Bedford rugby program, and I get people who like rugby. The first thing they tell me, show me your rugby programs. but as I said, you know, it's a way of life.
With all the special bits of memorabilia you've got, is there anybody that if you had you could pick out a person that hasn't been here to show them firsthand, there's anybody you'd like to bring around?
I mean, also Becks have been here. Becks have been a number of times at my place. In fact, there's a bedroom upstairs which we call the Beckham room, because that's where he used to have a sleep up there, you know. He used to come and look at the programs, you know, when he used to come to Malta. But, I mean, when you get people looking at the collection or anything interesting of his particular team, you find out whether he's a big name or a normal supporter. The attitude is there. The love for your particular team.
I think what's interesting as well this particular week is we've got the 65th anniversary celebrations, and I think we should point out the fact that some of your memorabilia is going to not be here, it's going to be over at the Supporters Club. So tell us about what's going to be on show at the exhibition.
At the moment, a lot of my stuff is not here for the simple reason that it's the 65th anniversary of our Supporters Club. And you know that the club was formed exactly a year after Munich. And this year we'll have a big exhibition of any items that concerns or is connected with Munich. So it's most of it is part of my collection, which I lent to the club, and it's going to be open next Sunday by Mike Phelan.
Fantastic.
And it's open for a full week. I know that a lot of people have been asking so that they come and visit. I'm sure it will be a good thing, and it will be a sort of remembrance for the people who unfortunately remember that sad day, but even for coming generations of people who don't know much about Munich, and especially if you support United, the younger generation, I'm sure they will like it.
Absolutely. I know we're going to have a walk round later and have a look around the exhibition as it is at the Supporters Club, but is there anything else that you've not mentioned that you think really stands out in your collection that you'd like people to know about?
Not to know about. I mean, because at the end, I'm not a person that tries to boast with whatever I've got, you know. But I always say, everybody is welcome to come and have a look, on one condition, that I don't like to see what I saw before when I saw stuff going missing from my collection, because that hurts you. You welcome people at home, and then you find out that they take the opportunity, you know. But that was a phase. I don't think I had a lot of people who had that attitude, you know. I mean, it was only one and two, you know. But good, you know. I mean, as I said before, I hope my collection remains with people that really love the club. And there's no way, as I said before, that I will ever think of selling anything, you know. I mean, they said, as we heard last week, and you were referring to it, the Bulls program was sold last week by auction for 10 grand. I mean, oh, yes, it makes it special, but there's no way for a program which I bought less than 300 quid because of the sum of money I would get rid of. That would never leave me.
Priceless. I think the thing that I've been thinking about in the background as you've been talking about all these fascinating bits of memorabilia and memories is, have you ever put a value on the collection, and is it insured? I mean, what happens if there's a act of God and it all disappears? I mean,
no. First of all, to be honest, the programs in Malta, they are not really seen the same way that they are valued in England, you know. I mean, so it doesn't bother me that anybody is coming in on purpose to pinch any of the programs, you know. So I never insured it, you know. What really I would have liked to insure, I mean, in 1999, the players were offered a miniature of the 3 trophies that they won. And they were very, very, very rare to get because they only made them for the players. And I had a friend of mine that was looking for one. His name was David Beckham. Because he saw one of them in the bar of his sons in his home, and he told me, Joe, see if we can get one, you know, which I never found one, you know. And one time I was talking to Neville, Gary's father, and I told him, what about this? He told me, I know one. I know somebody who's got one, you know. And in fact, we found it, and I managed to get one of them, you know. It's something that is not what I call valued in thousands of pounds, you know. Although somebody said one of them was sold for 20 grand. But to have it, especially in that particular year, is something special.
Well, Joe, I knew it would be. It's been absolutely fascinating hearing you talk about these stories and seeing them up close and personal firsthand, and I'm looking forward to going around with you when we go to the exhibition later in the week.
Yes, I hope so. Thanks for coming over. You're always welcome. We've known you now for quite a few years, John. And whenever you need anything from me, even if you happen to be in some exhibition or you need anything to be lent to you, I repeat it, to be lent to you, knowing who you are, you're always welcome.
That's absolutely fantastic. And I know some good security as well. I'll look after it to make sure it stays safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks. Another one for the European Cup final. This is a replica shirt. In 1968, signed by George. Then so we had Nobby, David Head, Jack Crompton, quite a few. Sadler.
That's a special shirt indeed, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, I don't know from where you can get now. A very, very nice autograph of George.
There's one more episode still to come in this fascinating series with Joe Glanville. And it was fitting that we filmed the fourth and final part at the Supporters Club, where Joe, of course, was the former president.